My job is to write for film and television. Anyone who writes as a profession knows the difficulties of the job, the challenge of making it in the industry, the inconsistent nature of the workflow and income, as much as the fear of the blank page. However, despite all these difficulties, my profession relies on one single certainty. I am the one who makes my characters move and speak. Anyone can read what I write and find it bad, and if this is a producer, he may not buy what I wrote, but he doesn't know the end of the story I've chosen to tell, because this is my story. I didn't know how important this small detail was until they took it away from me. Today, I want to talk about what happens when someone who writes as a profession tries to help someone else tell a story, and the story turns out to be completely different from what I imagined. A few times ago, a colleague of mine, very active in the social work, came to me with an article about a group of young women tutoring refugee minors, unaccompanied refugee minors in Syracuse, Sicily. And she asked me if I wanted to work with them, gather their stories. Gather the stories, tell a story, that's it. Tell a story. Whoever manages to tell a story emerges from obscurity. Until he will tell a story, he will be nothing more than a migrant, a human without identity, an exile. Even the word migrant, think about it, leaves both the destination and the point of departure unknown. Isn't that unknown the basis of a story? Yet, learning a language is a very difficult process. So doing some research, I discovered a seemingly incredible thing. These people landing on our shores, they flee from war zone, starvation, they've literally lost everything. Sometimes they arrive here with no shoes. But most of the time, they carry with them a smartphone. It may seem absurd, but think about it. It's pretty natural. Whoever makes it to arrive here want to reassure people at home. And if they have someone here to be in contact with, they want to be able to do it. In the past, this was very complicated and very expensive. Today, you just need a Wi-Fi. So, you don't use a smartphone just to make an emergency call, do you? Those kids may have trouble communicating with words, but they are millennials. They use their cell phones, as many of us do, to share their stories through videos, images, social media. So why not helping them improve this potential? Teaching them the technique to do so and helping them finding their own voice. In other terms, why not telling the people who arrive here, not teaching the people, in other words, why not teaching the people who arrive here to tell a story through images, transforming a smartphone into a means of integration, like a bridge in between us and them. This was our objective, and this is still our objective. So the first time we met in Syracuse, more than a year and a half ago, I was very excited and tense. I was there, they were there was my colleague, and they speak a little bit of French and English, but there was also a translator, so I took a deep breath and I said, we will teach you how to tell a story, your story. And then I went on and on, laying the whole project, when, all of a sudden, I just raised my eyes, and I realized that they were paying no attention to me. They were just looking at me blankly, or even worse, still, they stared at the floor, completely bored. Okay, I said, okay, they're not getting it. So I turned to my colleague, Simone, I said, did I speak too fast? Or did I use the wrong words? Thousands of doubts assailed me. I just started thinking that this whole kind of project was meaningful and impossible, and that I was no one, to say something to them. Who was I with my nice life to these traumatized kids? And so I mumbled something like, okay, forget about telling a story. Why don't we speak about something that you like, maybe of your country of origin? And the boy from the last row raised his hand and said, The Fast and the Furious. I said, sorry? The Fast and the Furious, the movie, don't you know? So a year and a half has passed since that first meeting, and my computer is full of hundreds of videos that these kids have made. And we made a documentary out of it. And what is amazing about it is that each of one has a unique eye. This guy, this is the Fast and Furious guy. Those are abstracts from videos. This guy, his first video lasted 15 minutes, and it was him disassembling and reassembling his motorbike. One shot. The guy is crazy about engines. This other guy, this is more, and this is a poet. The guy is 17 years old and made a short documentary about a day in a reception center. This other guy, this is our rapper, big boss, Mecca Sissoko. Mecca has a passion for career pigeons. In Mali, he had many of them and made many videos about career pigeons. And then there is Ahmed. Ahmed is very interested in people and nature. And he made this video about this huge tree who had like hundreds of leaves and hundreds of branches. And I kept looking at it, not really getting it, until one day I just realized there was a man still lying on a bow. I mean, how incredible, what an eye, no? And then there is Lamine. Lamine, after his first class in cinematography, decided to make a video where he was actually playing with a peculiar aspect of himself. You may see the point. We all have prejudice, and not knowing we have them is often the most dangerous thing. You know, getting to know these kids through their videos, I kind of discovered my own prejudice. Not only about my preconceived ideas about migration and refugee, but also on the value of art and its purpose. Think about those who claim that a movie must serve a cause by delivering a message. They act no differently than those pragmatic screenwriters who think that a movie, to be successful, must have a set of sex scenes or car chases, depending on the genre. Rewriters sometimes create scripts to please the public, and we justify this by saying that the audience is not ready for a different kind of storytelling, that we must not betray the public expectation, that they are not ready for major innovation. But there is also another hypothesis worth exploring. A great philosopher wrote that those who say they don't like contemporary art because they don't understand it are actually people who understand it all too well. Think dissociation may happen in many, think about the fear of the unknown. We believe that it's the fear of the unknown what really scares us. But what actually we are scared of are aspects of ourselves that we don't want to accept. Like, think about your own recorded voice when you hear it. Isn't that freakish or weird, shocking? Dissociation may occur in any personal, normal development. Actually, today's society asks for dissociation. For example, a surgeon, where he enters an operating room, he's no more a father of three, a Nirvana fan, a Buddhist, or a Muslim. He's just a surgeon. The defense of war criminals relies on the same dissociation. I just pushed a button. I was driving a train. I just obeyed orders. What does this have to do with art? Upon seeing the Guernica, a German officer asked Picasso if it was him who painted that incomprehensible horrors. The painter replied with the greatest serenity, "It wasn't me, it was you." You know, as an artist, a migrant can roam amongst us with wide open eyes. Every fierce racist is willing to say that he hates foreigners because of their habits, their behavior, their bad odors. he will unlikely confess that the reason why he really hates them is that because he feels watched. That is not the other tradition that scares him, but is the fact that the other may focus on us and point out our traditions and make them appear weird, strange, ridiculous. You may understand the threat. However, we must somehow tell the racists that this technique that undercovers this kind of truth is not always defaming. I didn't learn the meaning of war, and I don't know how it feels to undertake a trip where thirst never leaves you, but thanks to Lamin and to Moore and to Mecca's video, I know how it feels when a person falls into the shadow until disappearing, or if someone can contemplate an image of a leafy tree until one day discovers there is a man perching on a branch. You will ask yourself if this answers the question I asked myself at the beginning of this project when I presented it to the kids, which is if our work in this emergency meant anything. You know, reception is a complicated process, and we must not entertain the illusion that art may be a priority for these people who risk their life and they have so much to face. Yet, we must not make the opposite mistake, which is to think that the only important thing is practical aid. You know, Brecht said, first feed the face, then talk to the face. First feed the face, then talk right or wrong. Sure. But as soon as we have fed them and nourished them, we must provide them the tools to be treated as human beings. Even if this is not necessary, and even if it scares us, we must give to the other the possibility to speak, and yes, to observe us. You know, I think that if we could just go beyond the preconceived definition of who we are and who they are, and if we could stop fleeing from that preconceived reality and see it for what it is, then maybe we could start changing it. Thank you.